Thieves don't leave empty space, can be completed. Unlock condition. Steal the treasures of the hand and society, a total of 30 million United States dollars, 3860W, 3000W. Title obtained. Super High School Level Thief. Whether to unlock the title. The moment Lu Chuang rode a motorcycle and left Hell's Kitchen, the game system suddenly popped up. With Erica, a priceless treasure, the achievement task was completed without accident. Lu Chuang immediately unlocked a new super high school level talent. Unlock successfully. Title: The Thief of the Super High School Level. Explanation. It is impossible to work part-time, and it is impossible to work part-time in this life. Feature: Master Key Thief. This should be the talent of a thief.
Lu Chuang looked at the characteristics of Super High School Level Thief, and thought suspiciously, but, where do I get my master key?
Thinking of this, Lu Chuang tentatively clicked on the feature column, and a line of text popped up. Master Key. Can open any lock or password, the trigger condition is to touch it with your hand. It turned out to be a skill. However, now Lu Chuang doesn't have much chance to experiment with this skill.
Lu Chuang found a place to stop the motorcycle, put Erica down, and then threw a ball of mana to Erica. After all, the other party was dressed so coolly, and the slits of the dress were all open to the big pants. If you leave it here and leave it alone, it is guaranteed that Matt will be so green that he will panic the next day.
Seeing Erica showing signs of waking up, Lu Chuang threw the communicator on Erica and drove away on a motorcycle. Is this your new decoration? The next day, little Peter asked curiously, pointing to the ancient statues in the corridor. No, it was given to me by some kind neon people. Lu Chuang had a depressed expression on his face. Originally, he wanted to sell these items to see if he could get some money back.
In the end, the weasel told him the unfortunate news that it is very difficult to sell these items. To find a buyer, you have to go to a place like an auction, but the problem is that he stole these items. There will definitely be news over there, and it will be troublesome to track down his true identity by then.
Lu Chuang had no choice but to take home the statue he guarded all night as an ornament, and he threw the 2 sacks into the basement. Let's not talk about it, little Peter. Your Aunt May will be coming home very late today. She specially called to ask me to take care of you, so you don't have to go home for dinner tonight. I will take you out to eat something good.
Very good. Little Peter jumped up happily, chattering and saying, "Can we eat Mexican chicken tacos together? I have wanted to eat it for a long time, but Aunt May has always refused to let me eat it, saying that junk food is unhealthy. In fact, I have studied it. The ingredients of the Mexican chicken wrap are obviously vegetables and chicken. How could it be unhealthy?"
After so many days of getting along, the two have long been very familiar with each other. In front of Lu Chuang, little Peter has completely let go of his temper, and he can faintly see the potential for chatterbox. We're skipping the chicken tacos this time. Lu Chuang put his arms around little Peter's neck, and said cheerfully, "What's so delicious about that? This time I will take you to eat some more delicious food. I guarantee you have never tasted it before." Delicious. This thing called hot pot is simply amazing. Little Peter used chopsticks very unskillfully, eating the fat beef in the dipping sauce, and couldn't stop praising in a vague way. At the moment, Lu Chuang and little Peter were sitting in a hot pot restaurant, and in front of them was a mandarin duck pot, one red and one white, forming a sharp contrast. Little Peter kept taking food out of the clear soup, and it was delicious. Definitely, I have been looking for this hot pot restaurant for a long time before I found it. It is not so easy to find an authentic hot pot restaurant. Lu Chuang was also eating, but he fished out the food from the fresh and spicy red soup. Seeing Lu Chuang's actions, little Peter asked curiously, "Isn't it spicy?" Originally, little Peter also wanted to taste the taste of the red soup, but seeing the terrible red color in the pot, he didn't dare to try it.
Lu Chuang shook his head. "Definitely not spicy. Don't look at so many peppers in it. It's just like that. And hot pot with a little bit of spiciness is the real hot pot. Try it if you don't believe me, you will fall in love with it kind of taste." Little Peter hesitated, picked up a piece of meat from the red soup and put it in his mouth. Hiss. Little Peter's eyes were round, and he opened his mouth to suck in cold air, looking as if he was so hot. So spicy. Little Peter blushed so hot that he quickly grabbed the Happy Fat House water next to him and drank it. Lu Chuang said enthusiastically,
Don't worry, it won't be spicy after eating a few times. After drinking the happy fat house water, little Peter obviously got better. Although it was quite spicy, he felt that the taste was a bit addictive, so he moved his chopsticks hesitantly, and continued to fish out food from the red soup. After a few times, little Peter gradually got used to the spicy taste, and followed Lu Chuang to put food in the red soup. Lu Chuang wanted to remind little Peter not to eat so much, or you will cry when you go to the bathroom the next day. But seeing little Peter eating so happily, Lu Chuang didn't want to disturb his interest, and just silently poured food into the red soup without stopping. Half an hour later, Lu Chuang and little Peter walked out of the hot pot restaurant. Little Peter rubbed his belly and said, "I'm so full, but it's really delicious. Can we come over to eat next time?" "No problem. I'll bring you over to eat after you finish brushing up all the exercises at home." Hearing Lu Chuang's words, little Peter suddenly felt motivated. Decided. For the sake of hot pot, he went back and brushed up the pile of habits as soon as possible. Little Peter couldn't wait to say, "Then let's go back quickly. I'm going to do 4 caddies of exercises this week." "Don't worry. Just take a walk to digest after eating." Boom. The two were walking on the street. Before Lu Chuang finished speaking, the iron door of the apartment not far away suddenly broke open, and a figure that was familiar to Lu Chuang rushed out from inside.
Seeing the iconic dark green hair, Lu Chuang raised his eyebrows. Green elves. That person is Lorna. At the moment Lorna looked nervous, his hands were shining with dazzling green light, looking around as if looking for something, but when he heard a familiar voice behind him, he subconsciously turned his head and looked over.
"It's you." Lorna was very surprised, she never thought that she would meet Lu Chuang here. But soon Lorna came to her senses and ran to Lu Chuang eagerly. "It's too late to explain. Someone is chasing me from behind, please, help me." After finishing speaking, she gritted her teeth and immediately ran into the alley next to her, hiding herself behind the trash can. Lu Chuang realized instantly, and patted the little Peter who hadn't recovered from his composure. "Little Peter, it's time to test your acting skills." "Ah long?" She ran outside, run after her. "Be careful, that mutant can control metal." From the broken door of the apartment, several figures with guns ran out. As soon as they walked out of the apartment, they saw Lu Chuang and little Peter standing on the street. They seemed to be chatting, and they seemed to be very happy. They stepped forward and interrupted the two of them. The leading bald man took out an ID from his pocket and asked seriously, "I am Agent Turner. We are hunting down a fugitive now. Please cooperate with us. Investigation." Without waiting for the two to speak, Agent Turner stuffed the ID back into his pocket and continued. "Did you see a girl running past just now, with green hair, about 18 years old?" Hearing this, Lu Chuang and little Peter looked at each other, then shook their heads. "Are you sure?" Agent Turner frowned. They chased after that mutant, and they were sure that the other party definitely escaped from here. And there is so little traffic on the street here, normally it is difficult for someone to pass by without being noticed, and that mutant has such obvious features, how could the two of them not notice?
Agent Turner instinctively sensed that there was something wrong with the two of them, stared at them and said, "I think I need to remind you that the fugitive is a very dangerous mutant, and she has already shot and hurt several innocent civilians. I'd better think about it before answering."
"So it's mutant, you should have said earlier." Lu Chuang patted his thigh, his expression suddenly enlightened. "Then I may have seen it."
Possible. Agent Turner immediately grasped the point, and couldn't help wondering, why is it possible?
Lu Chuang said seriously. "Listen to me, the situation is like this. I did see a green figure running out of it just now, and I also saw her hands shining with green light. Next. And guess what I saw?" Agent Turner's face darkened suddenly. Why is there still a questioning session here?
"Say it." Agent Turner gritted his teeth. Seeing Agent Turner not cooperating, Lu Chuang didn't get angry, and told vividly, "The next thing I saw was that green figure waving his hand, and suddenly a metal broom flew towards her, and she sat on her buttocks. After falling down, it flew up directly on the broomstick, making a strange and eerie cry. It probably flew away in that direction."
Lu Chuang pointed in a random direction, and sighed. "Good guy. If you didn't say she was a mutant. I thought I met a witch in a fairy tale. I'll just say where the green hair came from." After listening to Lu Chuang's description, Agent Turner frowned. As far as he knows, That mutant does have the ability to manipulate metal, and it's not surprising that he can control a metal broom for flight. It's just that he always feels weird. Agent Turner didn't believe Lu Chuang directly. Out of prudence, he looked at the little Peter next to him. Little friend, tell uncle, what exactly did you see just now? While speaking, the inner agent stared straight at little Peter. This is the simplest interrogation technique, to exert constant pressure on the other party. Especially for a child of Peter's age, as long as he exerts a little pressure, little Peter will definitely be unable to bear the pressure and reveal his flaws, and he can easily tell whether the child is lying or not. As Agent Turner expected, under his gaze, little Peter's expression became extremely tense. So little Peter said, "Abba, Abba, Abba, Agent Turner." Lu Chuang on the side explained, "Sorry, my younger brother has been mentally handicapped since he was a child and can't speak." Agent Turner was stunned immediately, and blurted out, "Obviously I saw you guys chatting just now." Lu Chuang spread his hands helplessly. "Detective, I think you have misunderstood. Chatting is chatting. Dumb is dumb. These are two concepts, please don't confuse them. You say yes, little Peter." "Ababa." Little Peter nodded. Lu Chuang followed the translator and said, "My brother said that I was very correct." Where did this wonderful brother come from? Agent Turner's thoughts were completely confused by the two, and then he remembered that he was hunting the mutant. Seeing that he couldn't get any information, Agent Turner didn't waste any more time on the two of them, and picked up the walkie-talkie on his shoulder. The target goes to the direction of 41st Street, and arranges for drones to search the air. Note that the target has the ability to manipulate metal, allowing necessary measures to be taken. The target code name is Witch. Lorna, who was eavesdropping in the dark, suddenly clenched her fists and gritted her teeth.
Agent Turner didn't know that a dangerous word appeared on his forehead. After arranging the operation, he ignored Lu Chuang and little Peter, the wonderful brothers, and left with the other agents in the direction Lu Chuang pointed. "Look for the witch on the broomstick."
After Agent Turner and the others left, Lorna came out from behind the trash can. Lorna looked at Lu Chuang and pursed her lips and said, "Thanks, without you, I might have been arrested by them." "Are they Sentry Secret Service agents?" Lu Chuang asked. "How do you know?" "As it says, Sentry Secret Service Division." Lu Chuang took out a certificate, which was that of Agent Turner, with a special symbol printed on the corner. Seeing this, little Peter said excitedly, "Ababa." Lorna glanced at little Peter with some sympathy. The poor child can't speak at such a young age. "Speak English." The corner of Lu Chuang's mouth twitched. Did this little guy get into the drama too much? He really couldn't speak at all.
The little Peter coughed a few times, adjusted his malfunctioning language system, and asked excitedly, "I saw that the bald man put the ID in his pocket. How did you do it?"
"You can do it with hard work," said Lu Chuang, who has a super high school level thief. "Can I learn?" Lu Chuang stroked little Peter's dog's head, and raised 5 fingers with a smile. "Definitely yes, you only need this number, 50. Little Peter swallowed, and quickly shook his head. 50 is too much, I will die. How about this number?" As he spoke, little Peter raised a finger. "Little Peter, you can't do big things by worrying about everything, at least this number." Lu Chuang raised 4 fingers. Little Peter resolutely raised 2 fingers. 20, if it doesn't work, forget it. "Okay. Deal, 20 is 20. Lu Chuang hooked up with Peter Jr., and a deal was struck in an instant. Lorna, who watched the whole process, was in a daze. She couldn't understand what kind of riddle these two people were talking about. Lorna couldn't help asking, "What are you talking about? Is it USD?" Little Peter explained, "It's not money, we're talking about exercises, and I need to finish so many exercises." "So that's how it is." Lorna understood. It seems that Lu Chuang used this method to improve the child's knowledge level. She thought it was good to do so, so she said, "As 20 too little. I think we can add a little more." Hearing her words, little Peter's eyes widened instantly, and he looked at Lorna with an expression of "Are you a devil?" Lu Chuang's eyes were strange. "I suddenly feel that the codename Witch is quite suitable for you." Seeing their reactions, Lorna felt something was wrong and asked, "What, isn't it just 20 exercises?" Lu Chuang curled his lips in disdain. "Who told you that there are 20 exercises? Our custom here. The exercises are usually calculated by Caddy." Lorna. "What kind of custom is this?" It's terrible. To avoid those sentry secret service to get back, Lu Chuang took Lorna to his home. As for little Peter, he wanted to stay here to listen to gossip, but Lu Chuang drove him home. At the moment Lorna sat on the sofa, his eyes were a little empty, and he didn't know what he was thinking. As guests, Lu Chuang made Lorna a glass of Bingkuo Luo. Unscrew the bottle. Pour Coke into the cup, then add ice cubes and lemon. This cup is ready for the ice cube that sells for at least 40 yuan in high-end Michelin restaurants. Lu Chuang sat across from Lorna, then picked up the glass of freshly brewed water. Savor it carefully. Ha, cool. Lu Chuang savored Bingkuo Luo unhurriedly, without any intention of opening his mouth. As time passed, Lorna finally couldn't sit still after Lu Chuang drank 2 glasses of Bingkuo in a row. The main reason was that Lu Chuang made strange noises while drinking Bingkuo, which made her feel a little stuttering up. Lorna couldn't help but said, "Don't you have anything to ask?" "Ask what?" Lu Chuang blinked 13 times. Like. Why did the Sentry Secret Service arrest me? Oh. Why did the Sentry Secret Service arrest you? Lorna was a little tired, and couldn't talk any more this day. Lu Chuang said cheerfully, "To be honest, I'm also quite curious. What happened to you, and why you became a fugitive all of a sudden?" Lorna was silent for a while, and said in a low voice, "Because I used the ability in public, several people were injured in the process. Many people saw it at the time, and the news quickly spread to the Sentry Secret Service. Afterwards, agents from the Sentry Secret Service found my temporary residence and wanted to arrest me on charges of intentionally injuring others. You have seen the following things. I escaped from their clutches. I see. No wonder that bald man said you were very dangerous." Lu Chuang knows the Sentry Secret Service, which is an agency specially set up by the federal government for mutants to deal with mutant-related incidents, and their main job is to find mutants that violate the law. To put it simply, it is the special police in the eyes of mutant.
It's all the fault of those scavengers. As if thinking of something angry, Lorna gritted her teeth and said, "It's fine that they were marching against mutant on the street, but they actually wanted to attack a passing mutant child. I couldn't stand it before I stopped them, but they said the other way around. I meant to hurt them. Those bloody bastards."
The Cleaner is a civil organization, and the organization is full of a group of guys who oppose mutant. They think that all the misfortunes in their lives are caused by mutant, and they have the most extreme malice against mutant.
In fact, it is actually a group of frustrated people at the bottom, relying on the obvious provisions of the Mutant Act to provoke mutant unscrupulously. As long as mutant dares to resist them, they will recruit the Sentry Secret Service. Crowds are disgusting.
But there is no way, because mutants' social status is low. If a certain group in America suffered from this kind of crime, they would not be able to breathe for a long time, so I will directly start the $0 purchase mode without forcing you too much. After listening to Lorna's words, Lu Chuang basically understood. Obviously, Lorna tried to save someone but was implicated instead. Lu Chuang snapped his fingers. "So, now you can't go home. Originally, I lived with my aunt, but now that this happened, I can no longer go back. The Sentry Secret Service can find out my home address, and they will definitely monitor it nearby." Lorna's eyes were a little dim. After all, this kind of thing is uncomfortable for anyone, because he became a fugitive when he rescued someone. This result is really ironic. "Since you can't go home, what are your plans next?" "I don't know either." Lorna blankly pinched a card in her pocket, with the number John had left on it. In fact, she still has a way out, which is to join the Mutant Underground organization and seek the help of John and other compatriots. But this means that in the future, she will follow the philosophy of the Mutant Underground organization to do things and fight for those mutant compatriots who are persecuted. But is this kind of life really what she wants? Lu Chuang looked at Lorna, and suddenly said, "How about this, you stay here." "Stay here?" Lorna was slightly taken aback. She didn't expect Lu Chuang to say that. "Yes, anyway, you don't have a place to go now. I still have a few vacant rooms in my house. You can live in any room you want," Lu Chuang said indifferently. Lorna hesitated. "Aren't you afraid that I'm a fugitive and implicate you?" Lu Chuang said decisively, "It's okay. I will say that I was coerced by you. I am a powerless ordinary person who was threatened by mutant. It is normal not to dare to resist." Lorna was silent. She watched Lu Chuang tear up a few vampires with her own eyes before, You call this a hand without calendar? However, Lu Chuang's proposal really moved Lorna a little bit.
After all, she was also a girl, and she had experienced such a catastrophe in such a short period of time, so that her nerves were always in a state of tension, and all aspects of things almost completely crushed her. Rather than thinking carefully and starting to plan for her own future, Lorna now wants to find a quiet place to stay, without the disturbance of those Sentry Secret Service, and does not need to think about the troubles of the mutant underground organization, just like this quietly stay in the corner and ease your inner anxiety. For Lu Chuang, Lorna also knows a lot. Although the personality is very unreliable, but generally a trustworthy person, Lorna would rather stay at a friend's house than the completely unfamiliar mutant underground organization Lorna.
Lorna said with some hesitation, but, I don't have any money with me. Lu Chuang smiled and said, don't worry, I won't charge you rent, you just need to help me with some things. What's the matter? It's like this, I still lack a housekeeping aunt at home, wash the toilet and so on, so you know. Lorna. She suddenly felt that joining the mutant underground organization was also a good choice. Little Peter, let me introduce you. The next day, Lu Chuang pointed to the expressionless Lorna, and said to Little Peter, this is Lorna, the new housekeeper aunt, and she will be responsible for cleaning from now on. Hello, I'm Peter Parker, Little Peter said politely. Lorna nodded. Lorna Dan. After the two introduced each other, Lu Chuang continued. If you encounter any problems, you can ask Lorna for help. Definitely, let's not worry about learning problems. Lorna's cultural level is limited, so don't make things difficult for others. Hearing his words, Lorna was not happy at the time. Hey, although I dropped out of school because of some things, I have finished my high school courses anyway, so it shouldn't be difficult for me to be a primary school student. Lu Chuang didn't explain, and turned to look at Little Peter. How is the research progress of the super battlesuit recently? Speaking of this, Little Peter was dejected. I have basically figured out the mechanical structure, and now I lack hands-on practice. It would be best to disassemble the steel armor for research, but I am worried that doing so may destroy the steel armor. Internal mechanics. Hearing their conversation, Lorna was stunned. Have elementary school students started to study steel armor? Coincidentally, we happen to have a metal expert here, let her take a look for you. After speaking, Lu Chuang led Little Peter and him to the garage. Pushing open the door, the interior scene was immediately revealed. Lorna's eyes fell directly on the steel armor in the center of the garage. After all, the shape of the Mark I was so conspicuous that it was hard not to be noticed by her. As this? Iron Man? Lorna was stunned. She also knew that Iron Man was very popular these days. The steel armor in front of her was actually somewhat similar to Iron Man's steel armor. She looked at Lu Chuang in surprise. Where did you get this? Little Peter raised his hand and couldn't wait to say, Tony Stark gave it to me. He hoped that I could make a super battlesuit and hit him on the ground. Tony Stark has this weird hobby. Lorna couldn't figure it out. Maybe rich people have special hobbies. Lorna suddenly noticed something was wrong. Wait, you guys are right. Are you sure Tony Stark asked Peter to make a super battlesuit, not you? Definitely. Don't look at Peter's young age, he is very smart. Lu Chuang said to Little Peter. Tell me, what are you going to do next? I saw Little Peter sitting in front of the computer, typing on the keyboard skillfully, and the design drawings of the steel armor were displayed on the desktop. Immediately afterwards, Little Peter said quickly, first of all, I plan to disassemble the mechanical arm of the steel armor and check the internal mechanical mechanism. The power system is a problem that needs to be overcome. If possible, it is best to study the inertial damper and life support system, which are the most important safety issues related to the driver. Without the support of these technologies, the super battlesuit produced cannot guarantee the safety of the driver. Safety, and there is. Listening to the various technical terms that kept popping out of Peter's mouth when she was a child, Luna's complexion became more and more rigid. Because she found that she couldn't understand many terms, let alone the technical issues involved. After all, most of her electives in high school were liberal arts, and this kind of science knowledge was simply difficult for her. Seeing Lorna stunned in place, Lu Chuang patted her on the shoulder and comforted her. Did you suddenly feel like a waste? Don't doubt it, at least your judgment is correct. Lorna. I really appreciate your reassurance. In fact, little Peter's learning progress has been able to catch up with the average college students. The main reason is that little Peter studies the design drawings of steel armor every day, and then learns relevant knowledge in a targeted manner. Among other things, mechanics is definitely the field that little Peter is best at present. Definitely, little Peter's theoretical knowledge is still far from enough, and he can barely recognize some technical terms and mechanical structures. There is still a long way to go before making a super battlesuit. However, these theoretical knowledge alone are enough to shock Lorna, a scumbag. Some people finish high school because they're old enough, and some people finish high school because that's all there is to it. Okay. Just tell me how to dismantle it and let Lorna assist you. Lu Chuang interrupted the chattering little Peter, and let the other party continue talking until it was dark. Little Peter pointed to the arm part of Mark I. From here, you have to take it off completely. You must be careful in the process. This pair of steel armor is already very damaged. If it is damaged, there is no way to repair it. Lu Chuang made a gesture of no problem, and then elbowed Lorna. Come on, green elf, it's up to you. Lorna regained her composure and said angrily, I told you, don't call me this nickname. As she said this, her hands suddenly shone with green light. I saw the steel armor parts of Mark I slowly decomposing and floating in midair as if being pulled by some kind, and then the whole steel mechanical arm came off the Mark I intact and placed it on the workbench. The process takes less than 5 seconds. Seeing such a miraculous scene, little Peter was stunned. Looking at Lorna's dark green hair, combined with what he saw last night, little Peter seemed to think of something, and exclaimed, I know you, the witch on YouTube. She decided that she must give herself a code name as soon as possible, before the name Wang Po completely became her code name. Lu Chuang patted little Peter on the shoulder. Little Peter, Lorna will be your assistant from now on. She will help you to disassemble or assemble the steel armor. When I am not at home, you can ask Lorna to give you just open the door. You can use my workshop as you like. Remember not to touch those dangerous weapons. Little Peter said excitedly, it's so cool, the legendary witch is actually my assistant. Little Peter, look at how many people have helped you. The goal of surpassing Tony Stark is just around the corner, so you have to redouble your studies and make a super battlesuit as soon as possible. You can't live up to the expectations of so many people. Lu Chuang never will pass up any chance to infuse chicken stock. I'm going to redouble my studies. Okay, since you have said so, let's double the exercises today. Seeing the scene where little Peter was being fooled by Lu Chuang, Lorna suddenly understood that little Peter was Lu Chuang's toolman. What a poor kid. Seeing that little Peter was about to be limp, Lorna couldn't help shaking her head. Wait, now I have become little Peter's assistant. Then isn't she a tool person among tool people? In fact, there is an important reason for Lu Chuang to keep Lorna. That's why he fell in love with Lorna's ability. Whether it's Tony Stark's Mark series armor or Obito's Iron Overlord armor, their steel armor is made with the assistance of various sophisticated instruments. Lu Chuang is not as rich and powerful as Stark Industries, and he does not have relevant channels to purchase these instruments. The appearance of Lorna just helped Lu Chuang solve this problem. If little Peter is a technician who makes a super battlesuit, then Lorna is a processing factory that makes a super battlesuit. Lorna's ability can freely manipulate all metals. She can basically do what those instruments can do, and even some aspects are more convenient than instruments. This kind of ability is perfect for assisting in the production of steel armor. Wait a minute, this is different from what we agreed on. I didn't promise to be an assistant. Lorna quickly interrupted the conversation between the two. Just now she thought it was just doing a small favor, but now it seems that she is clearly going to be a long-term tool. Lu Chuang pondered for a moment. So you want to wash the toilet? Lu Chuang nodded. That's right, you stay here as little Peter's assistant, with food and lodging included, and the working hours do not exceed 4 hours. How can there be such a good salary? The corner of Lorna's mouth twitched. She felt as if she had been tricked, and she suddenly became an assistant, even a primary school student's assistant. But under the eaves, Lorna has no right to choose, mainly because she doesn't want to wash the toilet. Alright. After hesitation for a while, finally Lorna just nodded in agreement. Lu Chuang patted Lorna on the shoulder and said with a smile, work hard in the future, the organization will not treat you badly. Hee. In this way, Lu Chuang pulled Lorna into his super battlesuit production team. For this reason, Lu Chuang specially chose a name for this group. F*K Tony Stark Squad. The name is simple and rude, but it is infused with Lu Chuang's expectations, and he hopes that the two team members can aim for this. Lorna was speechless after hearing the name. But when little Peter heard it, he screamed to make a super battlesuit to put Tony Stark under his feet, because this is the best tribute to idols from fans. Lu Chuang was quite touched when he heard it, so he edited the video of Tony Stark being stepped on by the Iron Bully into a short video and put it in the car curry for loop playback, so that little Peter can always watch this video when he is studying, constantly motivating little Peter to move forward. And Lu Chuang was not idle. A few days later, he took on a new job with Weasel, intending to collect 50 million United States dollars as soon as possible. As night approached, Lu Chuang went out to act again, leaving little Peter to toss about in his garage. In normal times, Lu Chuang would definitely not be able to put a 7-year-old child named Peter in the curry. After all, there are dangerous guns and ammunition everywhere. If something happens, his home might be blown up. Gone. Now that Lorna is taking care of little Peter at home, he doesn't have so many worries. This time Lu Chuang accepted not a commission, but a reward. Just like the Russian Ross gang and Jin, and offered a reward to Lu Chuang, the identity of the employer is public. It is worth noting that this employer is called Mr. Negative, and he leads a gang organization called Devil Gang. It is said that he is an Asian, and he is also from Lu Chuang's hometown. The target of the bounty offered by the other party is the gang's deadly rival, the leader of the Magia gang, Joseph Harrow, code-named Hammerhead. According to the information circulated outside, this Joseph Harrow is said to be an undead monster-like existence, because someone once saw his head was hit by a bullet. Not only his head was unscathed, but in the end he brutally killed the enemy. It was also because of this rumor that many people did not dare to provoke Joseph Harrow. In addition, several people who were not afraid of death accepted the reward, but they were all hanged on the pier by Joseph Harrow. Not many people here are willing to accept it until now. However, the reward for this reward is still very generous, as much as 20 million United States dollars. When Lu Chuang saw the reward, he chose to accept it without saying a word. As for that rumor, Lu Chuang didn't care about it either. Haven't he seen few monsters? The stronghold of the Magia gang is a large factory, surrounded by closed states. It is difficult to observe the situation inside. There are a few gangsters squatting on the periphery. Their vigilance is very low, chatting and laughing there. It seems that they don't think that anyone will dare to break into their stronghold of the Magia gang at this time. BIU. 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 Suddenly, several anesthetic needles were pierced into their necks. Without any struggle, they fell to the ground and passed out, with blood flowing from their necks. Soon, Lu Chuang, wearing a black suit, came out from the corner. He took the gun of kindness and walked to the factory gate, but found a password device installed next to the gate. Lu Chuang didn't panic, but calmly reached out to touch the password. I didn't see any movement from Lu Chuang, and the password device suddenly displayed a 6-digit password. With a beep, the door lock opened automatically. Lu Chuang walked into the factory swaggeringly, and sighed in his heart. The feature of the master key is really convenient. If I change careers to become a thief, I will definitely be able to get along well. Walking into the factory, Lu Chuang found that the space here is very large, and it may take a lot of time to find the exact location of Joseph Harrow. At this moment, Lu Chuang saw a gang member passing by, and he stretched out his hand to pull him over, and asked politely, "Hello, please refer to where is Joseph Harrow." Looking at the muzzle pointing at his forehead, the gang member broke out in a cold sweat. "Second, office number 2, our boss is resting." "Don't be nervous, this is an anesthesia gun." Lu Chuang smiled kindly, signaling the other party to relax. Hearing this, the gangsters couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The anesthesia gun is at most just a coma, and that power won't kill them. Immediately afterwards, he heard Lu Chuang continue to say, "However, after my transformation, the power of this anesthesia gun has been raised by me several notches. At this distance, the anesthesia needle should be able to poke directly into your brain." Gang member. What is the meaning of this tranquilizer gun? Is it for killing people? 2 minutes later, Lu Chuang and the big-nosed gangster were crouching in a corner, having a heated discussion. "I saw Big Nose said with a serious face. Except for the few you dealt with outside, there are a total of 73 gangsters in this factory. and most of them are equipped with submachine guns with very powerful firepower, so I suggest you better avoid direct combat with them. Lu Chuang felt that what Big Nose said made sense, and nodded. The hero sees the same thing. In fact, that's what I thought. I went around and killed Joseph Harrow, and then left without anyone noticing. Although Big Nose could not understand these proverbs, it did not prevent him from understanding. However, the degree of difficulty in doing so is too high, our boss. Under Lu Chuang's direct gaze, Big Nose immediately changed his words. The number 2 office where Joseph Harrow works is located in the deepest part of the factory, and there are gangsters on patrol all around. It is not easy to bypass them. If something goes wrong, they may be discovered at any time. I see. Your information is very useful, thank you very much. Lu Chuang thanked. Big Nose waved his hands again and again. It's just a small matter, there is no need to thank you, it should be my honor to help you deal with the hateful Joseph Harrow. Well, I have said everything I need to say. The bomb on my body, can you untie it? At the moment, there is a C4 bomb tied inside the jacket of the Big Nose. The incessant sound of beeps made Dabitu tremble in fright. Under such circumstances, he dared not hide anything, and directly revealed all the information he knew. Lu Chuang said cheerfully, "What daydreams are you doing at night? The explosion setting of this bomb is to detonate actively and detonate from detonation. I press the button and it will explode, and it will explode when you remove the bomb. Do you think it's amazing? What? Amazing, you uncle." Big Nose greeted Lu Chuang's family frantically in his heart, and greeted Lu Chuang's family with a smile on his face. That's it, then I won't hinder your actions. I wish you success in killing Joseph Harrow. Unexpectedly, Lu Chuang shook his head. You're wrong about something. Ah? Dabitu was taken aback, and quickly said, I swear that I never lied, It's not me, it's us. Lu Chuang interrupted him, looking at Big Nose seriously. Let's kill Joseph Harrow together. The Big Nose's smile froze instantly. No, I'm timid, so I won't make trouble for you. Lu Chuang patted Big Nose on the shoulder and encouraged him. You may not even notice it yourself, but you have great potential hidden in yourself, and now is a good opportunity to express yourself. As long as you kill Joseph Harrow, you will. It is the words of the Uchiha gang that depend on people. It's not my turn to be the boss if I kill Joseph Harrow. Big Nose wanted to cry but had no tears. Lu Chuang thought for a while. Then kill all competitors who are stronger than you. Big Nose's expression became even more uncomfortable. If all of them are killed, I will be the only one left in the Magia gang. Lu Chuang was taken aback for a moment, and then persuaded earnestly. Listen to me, if the bomb doesn't explode this time, you can go back and find someone to marry. Gangsters may not be suitable for you. Big Nose. Faced with Lu Chuang's threat, Big Bitu dared not play any tricks at all. So, under the leadership of his 25-year-old son, Lu Chuang successfully escaped some gangsters who were patrolling, and kept going deep into the factory. Needless to say, this place is really big, densely packed goods are piled up around, and the entire factory is arranged like a maze. If Lu Chuang comes in by himself, let alone find Joseph Harrow, I am afraid that he will not be able to find him. It will take some time to figure it out. As Lu Chuang and Dabitu walked into the depths of the factory, Lu Chuang suddenly grabbed Dabitu and hid in a corner, making a booing gesture at Dabitu. Before Big Nose could figure out the situation, he saw 2 figures with submachine guns passing by. If it wasn't for Lu Chuang's pulling, he might be discovered. Seeing the figure walk over, Big Nose couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. But soon, he noticed something was wrong. Maid, I'm not this guy's accomplice, so why be nervous? Big Nosy pointed to the room on the 2nd floor, and said in a low voice, that's the number 2 office, and Joseph Harrow is resting in it. Lu Chuang looked around and touched his chin. Sure enough, there are more people patrolling here. It seems that we have to make a perfect plan. The Big Nose is very uncomfortable, can you not take me with you? This is forcing him to be a traitor. Big Nose tried to persuade. Joseph Harrow is a very cautious person. He often has a group of his most loyal men guarding him. These people are equipped with heavy machine guns. We just can't rush in. Lu Chuang nodded thoughtfully. You make a lot of sense. Seeing that Lu Chuang seemed to be shaken, Big Bidu hurriedly said, that's right, so let's run quickly, if they find out, we will be finished. Don't worry, I thought of a way. Lu Chuang comforted the excited Big Nose with the muzzle of his gun, and Big Nose calmed down instantly, and listened carefully to Lu Chuang's next words. You were right before, we want to avoid direct combat, so we have to have a bait to lure away they, then sneaked in again and took out Joseph Harrow. Big Nosed asked curiously. What is this bait? That's a good question. Lu Chuang smiled slightly, and lightly touched the bomb on Big Nose's body. Suddenly, a line of code was displayed on the bomb, which seemed to trigger some special device. Beep beep. Hearing the rapid beeping sound, Big Nose asked in horror. What is this? Lu Chuang kindly explained. This is the third hidden explosion mechanism of the bomb. If the heart rate is lower than 120 after 1 minute, you will explode directly on the spot, so run quickly. Mad. What are you doing so fancy with a bomb? Just as Big Nose was about to speak, he saw Lu Chuang suddenly pull out a bomb and throw it at the patrolling gangsters. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening explosion, all the gangsters were shocked, and then reacted. Damn, there are enemies sneaking in. Where is the enemy? King. His big nose and face were all blue. Seeing this scene, he still didn't know Lu Chuang's purpose. But he had no choice but to run out of the corner, and then ran wildly with his legs, shouting, My own people, don't shoot. Not surprisingly, other gangsters quickly noticed the running nose. I see, that damned guy is there, don't let this guy get away. Stop. Stop for me. Fact, if you don't stop we'll shoot. Hearing their shouts, Big Nose ran even faster. If he runs, he will die, and if he doesn't run, he will die. At the same time, Joseph Harrow, who was sitting on a chair in the spacious office, also heard the movement. He stood up abruptly and said angrily, What happened outside? Why is there an explosion? Joseph Harrow, codenamed Hammerhead, has a huge head, which is half the size of a normal person. With that tall body shape, the whole person looks like a frightening Frankenstein. A loyal underling reported. Someone sneaked in and killed our men with grenades, and now the intruder has escaped, and the others are after him. Hearing this, Joseph Harrow's expression became ugly, and he said coldly, Try to catch that intruder alive. I want to see which guy who is not afraid of death dares to attack the Magia gang. Boom. 6:30. At this moment, there was a knock on the door suddenly. Joseph Harrow frowned, and signaled a subordinate to check with his eyes. The subordinate nodded and immediately walked over and asked, Who is outside? Hello. Is Joseph Harrow there? A completely unfamiliar voice came from outside. Hearing his words, Joseph Harrow's vigilance was instantly raised to the extreme, and he told his subordinates, Don't let him in, all of you guard the door, contact some people to come back for support, catch this suspicious guy outside for me. Ignoring the guys outside, Joseph Logan wasn't worried about the stalemate going on like this. With a cautious personality, he has long turned the office into a safe house. Even the door is a thick iron door with several safety locks installed inside. It is difficult to get in unless it is a firebombing. I heard voices. The voice outside continued to shout, You are Joseph Harrow, I have something to give you. How about you open the door? Are you kidding? If you have the guts, just come in by yourself. Joseph Harrow's eyes were glistening with brutal blood. He would not let go of the guy who provoked him easily, and threatened with a grinning grin. No matter who you are dead. I will hang you and the previous guy on the pier. That's what you said. Then I'll come in. After saying that, Joseph Harrow saw that all the safety locks inside the iron door suddenly opened automatically. Immediately afterwards, the iron door was opened with a gap, and a brain came out from the outside, and everyone in the office looked at each other. Lu Chuang greeted. Oh, it's so lively. Joseph Harrow looked confused and opened the lock from the outside. What the hell kind of operation is this? But before he and his subordinates could react, Lu Chuang took out a bunch of grenades from his pocket, threw them in the center of the office, and then slammed the iron door directly. Joseph Harrow and his subordinates suddenly widened their eyes. One of his subordinates reacted quickly and wanted to open the iron gate, but found that the gate had been locked again. Do you need to be so fast? Boom. With the terrifying explosion, the original safe house instantly became an iron coffin, trapping Joseph Harrow and his men inside. I have to admit that the quality of the safe house is really good. Even the grenade explosion did not cause any damage. Lu Chuang used the master key to push open the iron door again, and thick smoke mixed with stench came out from inside. The scene in the office at the moment it was beyond description. Lu Chuang didn't go in, but stood outside and looked at the office. Soon, he saw a faint white soul hidden in the corner. You bastard. The wreckage of the furniture was pushed away, and the stained Joseph Harrow stood up, glaring at Lu Chuang with a face full of anger. I'm going to screw your head off. While speaking, Joseph Harrow rioted, rushing towards Lu Chuang like a beast. Boom. A muffled gunshot sounded suddenly. Joseph Harrow tilted his head, and saw a golden bullet hitting his forehead, spinning rapidly but unable to go any further, and finally fell powerlessly to the ground. Ha ha ha. Do you want to kill me with this? Joseph Harrow removed the bullet from his forehead, and with a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth, he pointed at his head and said provocatively, It seems that you don't know how I got the name Hammerhead. Come on, keep shooting here. See if your bullet can kill me. Lu Chuang raised his brows. Is this guy also a thick tank like Gina? Hearing Joseph Harrow's provocation, Lu Chuang unceremoniously raised his pistol and shot Joseph Harrow in the head several times. However, with the sound of hitting steel, all the bullets fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Joseph Harrow's expression became more and more arrogant. He stopped and began to walk slowly towards Lu Chuang, as if he wanted to create a sense of despair for Lu Chuang. I said, I gonna screw you off your head. Oh, my leg. Joseph Harrow suddenly screamed, and he collapsed to the ground, hugging his bleeding leg. Lu Chuang. Looking at Lu Chuang who shot, Joseph Harrow blurted out. Why don't you shoot me in the head? In fact, Joseph Harrow's head was caused by a gang fight, and his head was severely injured. Later, the doctor replaced him with an iron skull, so that he had an indestructible iron head. Even if someone pointed at him, a shot to the head of Joseph Harrow couldn't hurt him. It is for this reason that there are rumors of so-called undead monsters. After all, monsters that cannot be killed by headshots will naturally be misunderstood by people as monsters that cannot be killed by the whole body. As a result, it never occurred to him that after Lu Chuang found that his head could not be killed, he did not choose to run away in fear, but fired another shot at his knee, and Joseph Harrow, who was defenseless, knelt down directly. Do you think your head is Captain America's shield? Lu Chuang curled his lips, and he tried it curiously, but he didn't expect this guy to kneel down. Thinking that he was almost bluffed by this guy, Lu Chuang continued to shoot at Joseph Harrow's thigh, muttering incessantly, Diamond legs, right? King Kong legs. Joseph Harrow was beaten until he screamed. His legs were bleeding profusely. My F*** name is Hammerhead, not Vajra legs. If you want to hit me, hit my head. At this moment, Joseph Harrow's legs were beaten bloody. Lu Chuang can basically confirm that this guy is a good-looking guy, and his Vajra legs are all deceptive. I'm not a diamond leg, I'm a hammerhead. Joseph Harrow murmured with a pale face. Looking at Joseph Harrow's tragic situation, Lu Chuang showed no sympathy at all. According to the intelligence information provided by Weasel, the Magia Gang led by this guy is a gang organization for human trafficking, and none of the members of the Magia Gang are innocent. Seeing that the muzzle of the gun was gradually aimed at the heart from the thigh, Joseph Harrow's face became even paler. His heart was not as hard as his head, and he hurriedly said, Don't kill me. Who invited you here? Is it Mr. Negative? I can offer you double the price he gave you. Lu Chuang curled his lips in disdain. How is it possible? I am a person with professional ethics. 3 times, no, I will pay 4 times. Lu Chuang still shook his head, mainly because he didn't think this diamond leg could pay so much money. Just as Lu Chuang was about to shoot, he suddenly heard a tearing air sound coming from behind. Lu Chuang felt a force hit his head, and his body tilted out uncontrollably. From the corner of Lu Chuang's eyes, he just saw a sexy figure with long wine-red hair and wearing a black tights. At some point, he appeared behind him silently and raised his leg to attack him. Taking advantage of Lu Chuang's loss of gravity, the red-haired beauty immediately stretched out 2 hands, quickly grabbed his arm holding the gun, and knocked Lu Chuang's pistol to the ground with anti-joint, while raising one side of her long leg kicked Lu Chuang directly and flew out, then picked up the gun on the ground and aimed at Lu Chuang immediately. You'd better not move. A sexy and slightly hoarse voice came, and the red-haired beauty stared at Lu Chuang closely. From the posture of holding her gun, it can be seen that this is a warrior with great fighting qualities, better than the Mindy Lu Chuang met before. Much more professional. Facing the black hole of the gun, Lu Chuang did not panic, but stood up unhurriedly. Seeing that Lu Chuang ignored her words completely, the red-haired beauty frowned, and pulled the trigger towards Lu Chuang's thigh, trying to stop Lu Chuang's threatening behavior. Crack. However, the expected scene did not appear, and the gun in the red-haired beauty's hand seemed to have no bullets, and it got stuck inexplicably. Lu Chuang kindly reminded, "My pistol is a pistol full of spirituality, which can identify its owner, and others cannot fire it." Hearing his words, the red-haired beauty immediately looked at the gun in her hand, only to find that there was a fingerprint recognition device on the handle of the gun, and an unknown red light was flashing rapidly beside it. At this time, Lu Chuang continued, "Besides, my gun has a rather irritable personality. If anyone other than its owner shoots, it will die on the spot with the gunman." Red-haired beauty. Before she had time to think, she immediately threw the damn pistol out. Boom. As Lu Chuang said, the pistol exploded suddenly when it was thrown in the distance. Although this power was far inferior to the grenade, it was still enough to directly blow a person's arm into disability. Seeing this, the red-haired beauty looked at Lu Chuang with a strange expression. "You know, things like pistols are prone to problems. If they are not handled properly, they may explode at any time. Isn't this guy afraid of explosions when he is holding them?" After throwing the pistol, the red-haired beauty decisively shot again. The tall black figure writhed sensitively in the air, with two long legs clamping Lu Chuang's head directly. Both hands clenched Lu Chuang's arm, and pressed Lu Chuang to the ground with the help of weight and inertia, forming a standard cross. Bullet time. Lu Chuang's pupils suddenly dilated, and his physical fitness soared under the blessing of adrenaline. He managed to stabilize his body that was about to fall, and lifted the red-haired beauty with one hand to suspend in midair. The two looked at each other. The atmosphere suddenly froze. Lu Chuang was not in a hurry, and said cheerfully, "It's okay, you can continue, just pretend that I don't exist." The red-haired beauty. Now her posture is a bit awkward, neither is she jumping off, nor is she not jumping off. Before she could think about it, she saw a pistol in Lu Chuang's other hand, pointing it at her. "Come on, tell me your purpose directly. Why did you appear here? Where did this pistol come from?" The red-haired beauty was startled, but she noticed Lu Chuang's strange attitude, and frowned. "You seem to know me?" Lu Chuang said solemnly, "It must be your illusion. I only know Wang Banbi, who likes to wear leather clothes." In fact, Lu Chuang did recognize the identity of this red-haired beauty. The person in front of me is none other than the famous Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, a high-level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., also a member of Avengers veteran level. Natasha Romanoff didn't believe Lu Chuang's words. According to her agent experience, the identity of the mysterious man wearing a black mask in front of her was certainly not simple, and it was best to capture some useful information. However, she never expected that her sneak attack would fail. Instead, he is now under the control of the other party. However, after the trial just now, she was able to collect a lot of information. Judging from the posture of this guy holding the gun, he definitely received the most professional marksmanship training. But the strange thing is that the opponent's melee fighting skills are terrible. They basically rely on their reactions and strong physical fitness to deal with it, and they don't have any skills at all. Natasha Romanoff couldn't figure it out. It stands to reason that the most professional marksmanship training is generally in some special institutions, and it is impossible for these institutions to only teach marksmanship without teaching other skills. Could it be that the other party is still a partial student? For Natasha Romanoff, that's good news. Natasha Romanoff did not let go of her hands, just maintained this awkward posture and showed a charming smile to Lu Chuang. "Actually, we can have a good talk." Before he could finish speaking, a small instrument suddenly popped out from the ring on Natasha Romanoff's wrist and hit Lu Chuang's neck directly. Natasha Romanoff then let go of his hands, and then a strong electric current erupted from Lu Chuang's body. I saw Lu Chuang fell to the ground trembling all over, and the pistol fell beside him. This time Natasha Romanoff had experience and did not touch the pistol. She glanced at Joseph Harrow, who was unconscious, and said, "Phil Coulson, I found Joseph Harrow, but his condition is not very good, and a medical team needs to be sent to rescue him." "I understand. We are clearing out the gangsters on the periphery. It will take about half a minute. Before that, try to save Joseph Harrow's life. The information on him is very important to us." Agent Phil Coulson's voice came from the communicator hidden in Natasha Romanoff's ear. I know. Natasha Romanoff looked at Lu Chuang, who was lying on the ground. One more thing, I found a suspicious person here. It seems that his target is also Joseph Harrow, and he seems to recognize my identity, so I can't confirm it at the moment which organization or institution is a member of. Recognize your identity? Phil Coulson was a little surprised. Natasha Romanoff's Black Widow identity was in a semi-secret state, and it was impossible for ordinary people to know the existence of Black Widow, unless Natasha Romanoff had seen it in previous missions. Phil Coulson asked, is there any characteristic of the other party? Natasha Romanoff looked at Lu Chuang. He is dressed in pitch black, wearing a black mask, good at using firearms, and has good physical fitness. Now the other party has been stunned by me. You can take him back for interrogation later, and you should be able to find out something. Good at using guns, black all over, wearing a black mask. Phil Coulson muttered to himself. He always felt that this look was a bit familiar. Soon, a familiar image of Aquaman gradually emerged in his mind. It's him. Phil Coulson's eyes widened immediately, and he shouted eagerly, Natasha Romanoff, the electric shock doesn't work on him, get him under control. Natasha Romanoff was surprised by what Phil Coulson said. When Natasha Romanoff was about to reply, suddenly there was some noise in her ears, and Lu Chuang, who had been stunned, stood up slowly in front of her, staring at her with two dark eyes. Natasha Romanoff's pupils shrank suddenly, and the other party was able to stand up after being subjected to a high-intensity electric current. Out of instinct, Natasha Romanoff immediately raised her arm to stun Lu Chuang again. As a result, she found that the high-tech bracelet on her wrist had disappeared at some point. You're looking for this. Lu Chuang swung her index finger, and a ring was spinning on her finger, which was her high-tech bracelet. When did you steal it? Natasha Romanoff was shocked and stole the high-tech bracelet in front of her, but she didn't feel it at all. Sensing that something was wrong, Natasha Romanoff reached for his pocket, wanting to take out other weapons to deal with it. However, she vacated again. Natasha Romanoff. Don't look for it, it's all here. Lu Chuang threw out a belt, and under Natasha Romanoff's dull gaze, he threw out all kinds of messy things, all of which were stolen from Natasha Romanoff when she was close to him. As for the high-tech bracelet, he used the characteristics of the master key to unlock it the moment he was stunned. In the end, Lu Chuang held an irritating liquid spray and said proudly, didn't someone tell you never to play close to a thief? Natasha Romanoff's face darkened when she saw this, but she kept the bottle of spray in her chest. Ha ha ha. At this moment, a loud laugh came from not far away. Joseph Harrow, who was unconscious, opened his eyes and pointed a gun at them. Obviously, he had pretended to be unconscious before, and secretly picked up the gun that Lu Chuang dropped just now. Joseph Harrow's eyes were red, his face was covered in blood, and his face was extremely ferocious. He yelled at Lu Chuang. Listen to me, you idiot. My F***king name is Hammerhead, not King Kong legs, you go die. Click. Click. Joseph Harrow pulled the trigger, but there were 2 clicks. Seeing this, Joseph Harrow's ferocious face froze instantly. He pretended to be unconscious just now, but he didn't know that the pistol needed fingerprints to unlock it. Joseph Harrow grabbed the fingerprint pistol and looked at the 2 of them in embarrassment. Can I lie back down again? Lu Chuang pondered for half a second. I guess, I will be able to confirm whether you are iron-headed or not later. What do you mean? Joseph Harrow was puzzled. However, Lu Chuang and Natasha Romanoff did not answer him and fell to the ground at the same time. Boom. As the pistol flickered red, the pistol suddenly exploded in the hands of Joseph Harrow. Due to the close proximity, the fragments of the pistol after the explosion pierced Joseph Harrow's neck directly, and Joseph Harrow, who was already bloody, was instantly taken away from all the blood bars and lost his breath on the spot. It is worth noting that Joseph Harrow's head was only partially torn, exposing the metal material inside. Joseph Harrow proved with his own life that he has the iron head, not the diamond leg. Natasha Romanoff, tell me what's going on with you now. Phil Coulson's voice came from the communicator, and he seemed to have heard the explosion just now. Natasha Romanoff quickly got up from the ground, and said with a strange expression, the target is dead. Phil Coulson was taken aback. What's going on? The target exploded on the spot, and it was too late to stop it. Phil Coulson. After all, she is the top agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Natasha Romanoff quickly came to her senses. She is thinking about the next countermeasures. Now that the target is dead, all she needs to deal with is this guy in front of her. But the problem is, now that she has lost most of her equipment, she can only fight with bare hands, which undoubtedly adds a lot of difficulty to her. Seeing Natasha Romanoff's solemn expression, Lu Chuang stood up and said, "Don't be nervous, I never hit women." Really? Natasha Romanoff's eyes lit up. Being good at exploiting the enemy's weaknesses is the basic quality of an agent. Fake. Lu Chuang suddenly took 2 steps forward and punched Natasha Romanoff directly at the south gate. Natasha Romanoff cursed inwardly, but her reaction was quite quick. She didn't catch Lu Chuang's fist hard. She leaned back and lowered her waist to avoid the fist. Then, with a sudden force from her waist, she raised her leg and kicked Lu Chuang's chest to knock him back. Lu Chuang felt the power coming from his chest, which was stronger than an adult man. He would never believe that Natasha Romanoff had never received any strengthening. It is no wonder that the other party will fight against one of Thanos' 5 generals in the future. 50-50. The moment Natasha Romanoff retracted his legs, Lu Chuang's pupils quickly zoomed in, and he grabbed Natasha Romanoff's long legs directly, and then turned around forcefully. The right leg was under control, and Natasha Romanoff was turned over uncontrollably, and then a hand suddenly grabbed the back of her neck and pressed it directly to the ground. Her cheek was hurt by the cold ground. She wanted to struggle to get up, but felt until Lu Chuang's knee firmly pressed against his waist. Immediately afterwards, Natasha Romanoff felt the communicator removed from her ear. Lu Chuang took the communicator and asked, "Hi, is anyone there?" There was silence on the communicator for a while, and then Phil Coulson's steady voice came. "Hi, we meet again." Lu Chuang was also silent for a while. "Who are you?" Phil Coulson didn't expect that Lu Chuang's first sentence would be this, and said helplessly, "We met before in the Stoker Group industrial zone." Lu Chuang suddenly realized, "You are that Phil Coulson with a high hairline." Phil Coulson is a bit uncomfortable. Why do you have to bring up his hairline? Through the communicator, Lu Chuang could faintly hear some gunshots. Considering that the gangsters who were drawn away have not moved yet, Lu Chuang has roughly guessed what happened, and asked curiously, "What is your purpose this time?" "What?" Phil Coulson said without any hesitation. "This group of gangsters has seriously endangered the safety of the people. We must arrest these criminals, to prevent they from causing danger to society again." Lu Chuang also came at Jonko. "Coincidentally, my goal is the same as yours. Fighting criminals is everyone's responsibility." Strength. The two immediately confirmed that the other party did not come to fight criminals. However, due to the fact that both Natasha Romanoff and the mission target are in the hands of Lu Chuang, Phil Coulson can't continue to pretend this time. Phil Coulson said bluntly, "Our people have surrounded this place. You can't escape. Hand over our people. We can let you get out of here." Hearing Phil Coulson's words, Lu Chuang curled his lips. This kind of words can also deceive children. Just as Lu Chuang was about to say something, he saw the game system pop up suddenly. Title trigger. Master of Disguise, complete. Unlock condition. Surprise 30 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents without being discovered, 0/30ths. Title obtained. Super High School Level Spy. Trigger new achievement quests. Lu Chuang took a look at the content and found that it was very suitable for his current situation. Isn't he surrounded by a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents now? But the problem is that it is not so easy for Lu Chuang to sneak attack those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents without being detected. After all, Phil Coulson already knows of his existence, and he should have discovered it long ago. Found. Thinking of this, Lu Chuang looked up at Natasha Romanoff below. Target does not meet the conditions as Lu Chuang imagined. He was discovered by Natasha Romanoff a long time ago, and he does not meet the condition of not being discovered. Lu Chuang thought about it, and felt that he still had to experiment, so he threw away the communicator in his hand. Seeing this, Natasha Romanoff didn't know that the conversation between Phil Coulson and Lu Chuang failed. Natasha Romanoff's face was squeezed by the ground, and she said in a muffled voice, "You can't escape. There are our helicopters outside, which can monitor your escape route at high altitude at any time. Giving up resistance now is the right choice." Lu Chuang picked up the fishing line he found from Natasha Romanoff and tied up Tasha. After making sure that Natasha Romanoff's hands could not be freed, Lu Chuang looked at Natasha Romanoff condescendingly. You better see clearly how I escaped from under your noses. After finishing speaking, Lu Chuang left gracefully and disappeared in Natasha Romanoff's line of sight. Sensing Lu Chuang's self-confidence almost overflowing, Natasha Romanoff frowned slightly. Could it be that the other party is still hiding some tricks? Not to think too much, Natasha Romanoff heard Lu Chuang's words and felt that the other party should be preparing to escape, and probably wouldn't care about her side, so she immediately transformed into a caterpillar and wriggled on the ground, and she wanted to crawl to the communicator to contact Phil Coulson. However, at this moment, Natasha Romanoff suddenly saw a large shadow covering herself. Natasha Romanoff quickly twisted her waist and turned her head, only to find that Lu Chuang, who was supposed to leave, was actually standing behind her. At the moment, he was holding up a wooden stick that he didn't know where he was picking up, as if he was about to smash it down. Natasha Romanoff. Lu Chuang. 1. Lu Chuang did not expect that Natasha Romanoff would suddenly turn his head. Sensing Natasha Romanoff's unfriendly gaze, Lu Chuang put away the wooden stick and said solemnly, "Sorry, I got lost just now, and when I turned around, I saw your sneaky look, and thought you were a remnant of a gangster. Well, go ahead, my wife has run away." Lu Chuang left again, throwing the communicator another distance before leaving. Natasha Romanoff. If it wasn't inconvenient now, she really wanted to fly into the air and use her long legs to use the deadly scissors to crush this guy's head. Confirming that Lu Chuang is gone, Natasha Romanoff continues to wriggle on the ground. No way, she needs to spread the information here. Natasha Romanoff squirmed for a while, and when she was about to touch the communicator, suddenly, a large shadow covered her. Natasha Romanoff turned her head blankly, staring at Lu Chuang, who raised the wooden stick. "Aren't you going to run away?" Seeing that he was discovered again, Lu Chuang put away the wooden stick as if nothing had happened, pretending that nothing happened, and said seriously, "It's nothing, I just want to ask how to get to the exit." Hearing Lu Chuang's clumsy lies, Natasha Romanoff's eyelids twitched a few times. She wasn't an idiot, so she could naturally guess what Lu Chuang was trying to do with this action, and she clearly wanted to sneak attack her. But Natasha Romanoff couldn't figure it out. "If you want to hit me with a stick, just hit me. Why did you have to sneak around and attack me?" Seeing Natasha Romanoff's complete disbelief, Lu Chuang sighed. Sure enough, the achievement task is not so easy to complete. The other party can find him so easily, it is too difficult for him to sneak attack. At this moment, Lu Chuang seemed to think of something. Lu Chuang suddenly grabbed Natasha Romanoff and walked to a pillar, and wrapped Natasha Romanoff in the pillar with the tape he just found, especially around the head. Lu Chuang purposely wrapped the tape a few times to fix it, and sealed Natasha Romanoff's mouth. After doing all this, Lu Chuang emphasized, "I really want to leave this time." Woo. Natasha Romanoff stared at landing Chuang, and kept making noises, not knowing what she was talking about. Ignoring Natasha Romanoff's murderous gaze, Lu Chuang turns away from Natasha Romanoff's view. A few seconds later, Natasha Romanoff heard footsteps coming from behind, and then a shadow appeared out of the corner of her eye. Natasha Romanoff. To be honest, this is the most persistent sneak attack Natasha Romanoff has seen since her long career as an agent. Natasha Romanoff tried to look behind, but found that her head was firmly fixed by tape, so she gave up struggling. "Do it, hurry up, too." Clang. With a dull knocking sound, Natasha Romanoff simply passed out. Unlock condition. Surprise 30 shield agents without being discovered, 1/30th. Lu Chuang stood behind Natasha Romanoff holding a stick, and nodded in satisfaction. The sneak attack was successful. If Lu Chuang's guess is correct, the condition of being undiscovered does not depend on whether the opponent discovers his existence, but whether he is completely out of the enemy's observation range. For example, Natasha Romanoff, even if Natasha Romanoff knows the existence of Lu Chuang and knows that Lu Chuang is going to attack him, but Lu Chuang has been out of Natasha Romanoff's observation range for a period of time, the game system assumes that Natasha Romanoff has not found Lu Chuang. If Lu Chuang took advantage of this time to attack Natasha Romanoff and did not enter Natasha Romanoff's field of vision again, he would be regarded as not being discovered by Natasha Romanoff, just like the NPCs in some assassin games. Their vision is all as if they did not see. By the way, how old is Black Widow Natasha Romanoff? Does this count as a sneak attack on an old comrade? Tread. Lu Chuang heard a sound of orderly footsteps coming from a distance. It was obvious that S.H.I.E.L.D. had already dealt with the gangsters outside. Lu Chuang didn't have any hesitation, and quickly left in one direction with a wooden stick. Not long after, Phil Coulson arrived at the scene with a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Compared with the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the gangsters outside are basically no different from trash fish, and they can't resist their pace at all. Phil Coulson scanned the messy scene, and his eyes quickly locked on Natasha Romanoff. Seeing Natasha Romanoff's mummy-like appearance, Phil Coulson was stunned for a moment, then realized that Natasha Romanoff didn't respond. His expression changed slightly, and he immediately walked over to check on Natasha Romanoff's situation. Fortunately, Phil Coulson was secretly relieved to find that Natasha Romanoff had just fallen into a coma. Phil Coulson frowned, and ordered to the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Completely seal off this area, search for the whereabouts of the attackers, notify people outside, monitor all suspicious people leaving the factory, and report any situation immediately. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents nodded and began to disperse and search the entire factory.